Call of Duty is awesome. I understand if you're the hundreds of people a year who say that they actually really hate Call of Duty because guess what? It's something that comes out every year and it's never changed since the beginning of time. I would beg to differ, but personally I'm a person who likes Call of Duty a lot. While it is possible to like something so much, I do have my problems with the systems. Maybe some other day I'll talk to you about how much I hate ghosts, but today I'm going to talk about the 20 maps that drive me the most crazy. The 20 maps that, you know, they had good intentions, but just were never any fun, no matter how hard I tried. I had no real restrictions for this list. Basically, I took any maps I didn't like, put them on a list, and then ordered them. It didn't matter how many came from each game, I just put on here what I disliked. But I will tell you right now that there is a map from at least every game. And while I have owned all of the Call of Duties, that doesn't mean I had all the DLC. So it is going to be a little weird when you're going to see some DLC on here, but not all of it. And the same goes for my opinion. These are all my opinion. You are perfectly allowed to disagree with all of these. This is just the personal experience I had with COD maps, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So let's get started, huh? For number 20, we're going to start at Modern Warfare 2. In my opinion, one of the better multiplayer experiences. But while you can say that the game had great, fast-paced, fun multiplayer, it didn't mean all the maps were great. My number 20 goes to Derail. Now, Derail is a snowy map, and I will say that there aren't many themes in the game for multiplayer maps that I like more than snow. Personally, I'm a winter person, and I love seeing it. Now, as for the gameplay, Derail kind of plays out as a big sniping map. And usually, I would always start with my sniper rifle there, but things wouldn't go so well because people tend to cluster up in the same places. There's that building in the middle. You always walk in there, and there's always like 3 people camping in it. And there's a building on the outside edge. Either you go in it and die trying to climb stairs, or people are sniping you from it because it's a good vantage point. Now this is 20. I don't hate it that much because I have done well at this map. It's possible. I mean, honestly, it's possible to do well at any of these maps on this list, but I can say that I've had a bunch of fun playing at this map in my life. It's just, usually when it comes up, I'm pretty sad that people don't skip it. Probably for these first few, when I'm introducing a game I haven't talked about, I'm probably going to give you my opinion on the game in general. My number 19 comes from Advanced Warfare. And let me tell you, Advanced Warfare is the breath of fresh air that Call of Duty needed. The way that you play the game is a blast, and I love playing it. It is really unfortunate that its sales have reflected the game after Ghosts. People don't want to be fooled. My number 19 is Horizon. You're probably going to see a large theme of maps with big areas and long corridors make this list a lot. That stuff is not fun to me. If I'm exposed, I'm not going to do well, and I'm not going to enjoy it. Horizon, I usually just end up dying from everywhere. It's like there's a ton of vantage points, and I realize sometimes I walk into rooms, you walk into the middle room with the plane, and you don't really realize that people can basically see you from anywhere when you walk in that room. Off the top of my head, I can count 6 doors that go into that room. It's good to get around the map, but sometimes you try and go around the outside edges, and you turn a corner, and you're in one of these large, drawn-out areas, and people get you. And it gets kind of annoying, because sometimes you don't know where they're coming from, because they can shoot you from pretty far distances. My number 18 comes from Modern Warfare 3. I'm probably in agreement with most people that Modern Warfare 3 is borderline a carbon copy of Modern Warfare 2, and it was the start of people saying, man, it really sucks that they keep releasing CODs yearly because they're starting to run out of ideas. I'll admit, that's where Modern Warfare 3 was. Honestly, for the story, they did have to finish it off because Modern Warfare 2 did end kind of on a cliffhanger. But still, they could have made the multiplayer a little bit more different than how it ended up. My number 18 is Carbon. I'm gonna say this right now. I had this way higher on the list. I think I had it around 11 when I initially made this list. But after I played it again, I realized there's not that much wrong with it. I'm not gonna deny that I still hate it. It's just not as bad as I remembered it. I'll come out and say right now, this is the only map from Modern Warfare 3 on this entire list. It's funny because I didn't really have many maps that I hated from this game. They're just kind of meh. If I could tell you, I made a best and a worst list. My best list came out at 20, and this list barely came out at 19. I had to add derail at the last second, so I had a 20. But when I made the list and I went through every game's DLC and every game's map that came out, I noticed that most were maps in the dead center. I mean, most maps invoke no feeling. You realize that not much great is going to happen. But Carbon, I used to just think I'd come out in the middle and I'd die, and there'd always be people camping somewhere, and it was always annoying. Honestly, this one is going to be a nostalgia pick for me, because I remember just hating this. Number 17, we're going to wade into Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 is a game that the first week I played it, I hated it. I thought, this sucks, it's miserable. I remember we played multiplayer, I hated it. And then we played zombies, and I hated it more. And I didn't even give the campaign a try, because I'm mostly a multiplayer person. But what happened was, I hit a point where I finally unlocked the FAL because my favorite gun class is single task. I love semi-automatic assault rifles. I think they're the finest and they do the job the best. I got the FAL in the game and I was hooked. That and Black Ops 2 has the best challenge system of any COD, outright. It makes it so fun to unlock Diamond. That's the only COD I am Master Prestige in. Well, okay, no other COD has Master Prestige, but that's the only COD I've gone all the way in. I'm about a 6th in World at War. That's the next closest one. But for number 17, I'm gonna go with Drone. Drone just has this dreary look to it. It's just got all these locations. I mean, it basically blends together. You can go inside or you can stay outside. All the indoor areas look the same. All the outdoor areas. There are so many places you can camp. There's a back area that goes around the back of the map. You could be up there with a sniper rifle or an assault rifle. There's a helicopter pad you can sit on. All the rooms have wonderful corners for you to camp in. It's basically just a shitstorm wherever you go. And I really never did have a great time at Drone. It was always just a dreary, gross time. I don't usually remember voting for Drone. My number 16 comes from Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1 was the first COD multiplayer I disliked. I would genuinely say I did not dislike Modern Warfare 3, and after playing Modern Warfare 3 again, I realized it is fun. It might be a carbon copy of Modern Warfare 2, but it is actually fun. The first time I played Black Ops, I did not like it. I don't know what it was, it just didn't feel as great as Modern Warfare 2 or World at War to me, so I just didn't like it. It's come around on me. I mean, the way you buy guns, I'm not a fan of, but for a multiplayer experience, you could definitely go worse. For the first DLC map, my number 16 goes to Zoo. The themes of maps sometimes are pretty great. They can do a really good job of putting together a great looking theme. I mean, I know there was Carnival in Modern Warfare 2. It's bright and colorful and fun to like experience what a war-torn, combat-fueled environment is. But for Zoo, just nowhere fighting is fun. There's this middle area of death. It's just death. So either you go in the middle or you run around the edges. And when you run around the edges, there are these long open spaces where people can get you. There are windows facing out of all of the rooms. You'll be running there somewhere, not expecting to get shot up, and you'll just get destroyed. That's how Zoo played for me every time I played at Zoo. I guess I liked the theme, and I never had an experience that was so miserable but I'm still going to put it on the list. Number 15, we're going to head right back to Black Ops 2. My number 15 is Turbine. Turbine is just this big, vast, disgustingly large map. Basically, it's like you got a sniper rifle and you're going to see somebody across the map, but you know what? I can't call it a good sniping map because your vantage points are limited. So you think that you can snipe anywhere? I'll give you a good example of a sniping map. Cliffside. That is a map where sniping everywhere is great. Except for a few rooms, sniping is the greatest. You can see people from everywhere and they can see you too. And that's the fun that comes out of the map. But at Turbine, there's just certain places where you can snipe. Other than that, people are hidden from the crashed plane. People are inside this convoluted building. There's a couple mounted machine guns in the map, which is kind of cool. But usually people just kind of go to the same spots and fight. And that's what makes a map bad. When you don't experience fighting everywhere, it's just people going to the same places and always fighting. It's just an upsetting way to play and not a lot of fun. So we've finally gotten to my favorite Call of Duty. We're entering World at War territory. World at War is easily my favorite COD. I think it's wonderful. I think the multiplayer is the best. I think the campaign's the best. I think World at War is the finest COD that came out. Even if you hate CODs, World at War is a different animal. It's so much fun to play, and I would recommend any of it. As for the multiplayer, beautiful. I mean, I guess our problem now is that it's filled with hacked lobbies, and it's so hard to get into a lobby because the game is literally 7 years old now. But still, if I have the chance, I'll pop it in, and I'll just have a blast. But my number 14 goes to Macon. Now, Macon isn't such an awful map. In general, it's a decent sniping map. Usually, if you go in with any gun class, I wouldn't say I'd be a huge fan of going in it with a shotgun. But usually, if you go in it with a submachine gun, assault rifle, or a machine gun, you'll be okay. But I think this is going to go down to another nostalgia pick, where this was one of the starting 8 maps that I never wanted to play at. Ever. There isn't another starting map on this list. All of the other starting maps were so fun. I'd have a blast playing at them. Asylum, Castle, Cliffside, Hangar. Just don't even start. Those maps are so fun. Macon was not nearly that fun. And it might be an okay map, but honestly, if you didn't have the DLC for World at War and it landed on Macon, it was a sad, sad day. Also, a lot of the time you die from nowhere in Macon and people camp in the middle. So, if you want that to make you feel like it's justified to be on this list, that's pretty much why. My number 13, we're going to go back to Advanced Warfare. It's Solar. I noticed that if Solar comes on the screen and it's not Comeback or I think Retreat. Retreat was pretty close to making this list, by the way. I don't like Retreat either, but Solar gets voted for a lot, and I am not a fan of Solar. Solar just feels like a bunch of death zones everywhere. There's a big open middle surrounded by a circle that you can run, but all of them are long corridors, so people will kill you from anywhere. Honestly, the COD player today has this impeccable ability to use an assault rifle from any range. We have not gotten to Ghosts yet, but I will just bitch about that for a long time, that assault rifles are almost more effective than sniper rifles at long range in the game. Anyway, Solar, I can never find a class I want to use. I just feel like I die from everywhere. No matter what I do, I just walk onto a bridge and I die. And I try and run the outsides, and somebody gets me from some vantage point that I wasn't expecting. It always gets you when you're not expecting it. There's just a bunch of things everywhere. And you can credit that to Advanced Warfare's open jumping mechanics that definitely make the game more fun. In some scenarios, it makes people just be everywhere. There are camping spots, vantage points, stuff that just drives me insane about that map. Number 12, we're going back to World at War. World at War's DLC, I mean, much worth it for those zombie maps, because honestly, if I went into a zombie map list, the first map is the worst one in World at War. It wouldn't make a bottom 5 of the whole series, because, you know, Black Ops 2 exists. As for multiplayer maps, some were really good, and some were really bad. Number 12 goes to Knee Deep. Knee Deep. I don't even want to go into Knee Deep. There's a mess of buildings. It's this ugly looking landscape. I know it's World at War, but some of those places just looked amazing. But Knee Deep, I mean, there's this murky ass river, and there's this building. There's this building on the one side of the river everyone always camped in. You'd go up the stairs, there'd be 2 people just camping in there. I do apologize that the match I got into for Knee Deep doesn't have a lot of people, but this is the point where I'm going to say it to you guys. The hardest part of making this list and doing this review was finding these maps. You don't even know how hard it is to get a COD to land on the map you want until you have to do it for recording purposes. It is insanely hard, and it took me a long time. I think I spent 3 or 4 hours on World at War trying to get these maps to show up. It was crazy. But nonetheless, Knee Deep, usually you can't see people when they kill you. The buildings, people were just in the buildings shooting you from vantage points, so basically you gotta just be in the buildings. But yeah, Knee Deep just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Number 11, I feel like, is going to be controversial. We're going back to Modern Warfare 2. And this is a map that I hate. I hate this map. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. You know what? I hate all these maps, to be honest, since COD has such good maps. When I made the bottom and top list, I made tentatives. I had about 45 maps on there that I had to cut down. Seriously. When I made bottom maps, I think I had like 25. COD has made better maps than worse maps. But from Modern Warfare 2, my number 11 goes to Skid Row. I just cannot stand Skid Row. Skid Row doesn't look aesthetically terrible, and it's not a big, gross map. It's just the middle. You go into the middle, you're dead. No matter what you do. The bookstore area straight across. If you are in a vantage point from that straight line, you could get killed from either side. Someone's either hiding behind that forklift or sitting on the MG on the other side. It's a disaster. I think I survive like 20% of the time I go in that room because it's just automatic death. People can see you from everywhere. Running the outsides isn't bad, but there's another building. The biggest building in the map that sits basically in the middle. There's this corridor on the 2nd floor, and people always hide on the stairs of the one side and will just shoot you from across the map. You can't see them, you barely see them in the first place, but they can see all of you. It's a disaster. There's another corridor going to one of the spawns that if you get stuck in it, you're screwed. They're outlets, but you can't beat a Modern Warfare 2 player at this point. People who are still playing this game 6 years after it came out are either awful or wonderful. And most of them are wonderful. I see people who aren't over level 20, 0 prestige, or 10th 70s. That's basically all you see when you play the game. And those 10th 70s are insanely good. Do you hate it when CODs recycle old maps and sell them to you for DLC by putting a new skin on them? I do. Remember Summit as Uplink in Black Ops 2? Remember Stadium as Takeoff in Black Ops 2 as well? Well, guess which one I don't like. My number 10 goes to Hazard in Black Ops 1. I love Cliffside. I cannot deny it. Cliffside is one of my 5 favorite maps in all of the CODs. Cliffside is wonderful. Whatever the fuck they did to Hazard is miserable. It's not fun. I have never had fun playing there. But if you don't mind, I think I'm going to try and shed light on this. Cliffside was made for the sniper rifle. It is the most beautifully crafted sniper map in any COD. I'll say it. I'm sorry, Black from Modern Warfare. I'm sorry, Afghan from Modern Warfare 2. I'm even going to say sorry to Raid from Black Ops 2. The sniper rifles in World at War were all good. Even if you remember me and Matt fight over the Springfield, even the Springfield isn't terrible in all cases. All of the sniper rifles were good. There were 5 of them. They were beautiful. The situation with sniper rifles in Black Ops 1 is a disaster. The L-27 is your bolt action. It's not good. It gets you hit markers like 40% of the time. You can't have that. It just doesn't work that way. You have that, and then the rest of the sniper rifles are semi-automatic. You can't do anything with a semi-automatic sniper rifle at a large sniping map. Having to hit somebody twice, that's asking too much. You can fire that as fast as you can, but you have to re-steady the sniper rifle. You need a one-and-done sniper rifle. When the L-27 is the best thing you've got, you're in trouble. Other than that, I mean, the Black Ops player, I hate to say it, is different than the World at War player. So they play the map completely different. They camp in the middle rooms. They camp on the edge rooms. They camp. It happens in World at War too. It's usually easier to eradicate a camper in World at War than it is in Black Ops. Number 9, we're going to stick to Black Ops, and we're also going to stick to DLC. My number 9 is Drive-In. Now, what's not to like? It's a small map. Drive-In is a small map, yet at the same time, it's huge. It still has these open spaces where people can get you from everywhere. So you expect to go in with a submachine gun or a shotgun, and you get destroyed, and you realize that people are sniping the shit out of you, and you're thinking, how? This map is almost the size of Nuketown. I think it's a little bigger, but it's still unreasonably small. Still, people are sniping, and it's way more effective than having a submachine gun. Just the open spaces, the long corridors on the outsides, people pop out of rooms like crazy. The rooms almost work like a maze. You will be running somewhere, and then people will come out of spots that you didn't even think they'd come out of. People are in upstairs camping. People are just ready. And that never translates to fun. You didn't think I forgot my favorite game in the world, did you? It didn't take till number 8 for me to finally hit a map from Call of Duty Ghosts. This game is miserable, and I'd probably like to say that some of these maps would work in another Call of Duty, but the way that Ghosts plays, they end up being miserable. So the first Ghost maps on here at number 8 is going to go to the large, boring one, Siege. Now, Stonehaven is big. I'll say that. Stonehaven's big. I can say that I've had an ounce of fun at Stonehaven before. But at Siege, there are just buildings where people are, and then there is outside where people aren't. Think you want to run outside? Someone will be sitting in a building shooting you from a vantage point. The map is large in 75% of it. The map is tiny in 25% of it. People are always in these corners in the tiny part of the map. There's this one water tower where people always camp, and if you go anywhere near it, good night. As in, if you try and run outside of it, down below, they'll get you, no problem. But if you try and eradicate the campers, they'll know how to put IEDs in the perfect place. They'll know how to be ready for you. They're always ready for you. You can't overtake that spot. It's really hard to get into that spot. What's funny is if you look at the sea on the outside of the map, it's really beautiful. I remember once I literally got on the outside of the building, looked at the sea, and thought, wow, that is a pretty-ass map. But as for playing, it's a big open space of misery. Number 7, we're going to go right back to World at War DLC. Number 7 goes to Subpens. In the spirit of Drive-In, Subpens is pretty small. What's not to like about a small map? Well, I'm kind of going to have to put this one on the shoulder of the player. The player knows how to make that map not fun. There's that one spot on the edge, people camp. People camp on the second floor of all the buildings. Inside of the buildings, people are usually in the corners, and I don't usually have a vantage point to get them because I'm usually using a submachine gun or a shotgun. I always resort to a submachine gun, and I don't like that. World at War submachine guns are overpowered. They are some of the most beautiful weapons in any Call of Duty. People just camp the way that you don't want them to. Don't even think about going to the middle, you're dead. Don't even think about going outside. If someone gets an airstrike, you're dead. A lot of the two edges, people always camp on the outside and point at the other end that someone will be coming up, and they always get you. Maybe if you come up the middle, you can get them, but from the one side, you have to funnel up one side. There's no element of surprise on that one side. Number 6, I might call my most controversial pick on the entire list. We're gonna go to Black Ops, and we're gonna go to everybody's favorite, Nuketown. I have had good games at Nuketown. It's easily possible. You can run around with a shotgun and go crazy. I heard once that Calvin went 52-2 at Nuketown. It's possible to do well. It's possible to have fun. Do I think that matters? No. Because you know how everyone plays Nuketown? And I'm saying this for both Nuketown and Nuketown 2025 from Black Ops 2. You start the match, there are 100 grenades in the middle. That's what everybody does. That's what you have to do. You just throw a grenade into the middle, because why not? That's how you play the map. You go into the middle, you're pretty much dead. You got a 90% chance that you are not going to make it to the other side of that map. If you make it to the other side of that map, you got a good chance of shredding a team. But you know what always happens? Somebody sits in a corner. Either side, not just the one side. Both sides. People will sit in a corner and they'll get you. People camp. Those rooms, they will sit on the second floor and shoot at the middle. It contributes to how bad the middle is. Corridors coming to the middle, you have a hard time surviving. Plus that, don't even get me started on C4 with Black Ops 2. People spam that shit like it's the 4th of July. It doesn't get any better. Everybody is always just shooting. One time I found a great spot in Black Ops 1. If you're in the garage with the open end, I can't describe it any better. Basically, if you're playing Domination, it's on the B side, which, by the way, Domination in Nuketown is the worst. I will say that. I can't even say that lightly. It is the worst Domination map in all of CODs. You can't go for B. You're dead if you go for B. No matter what. You could have 5 people run for B and you're dead. B is just a grenade dropping ground. You might as well not even try. I found a good sniping spot once, but that charm lasts as long as you can. Because you'll get killed by campers, you'll get killed by everybody. Because you can camp anywhere. It's the worst small map in any Call of Duty. I'm sorry for as many people as I just offended with that, but fuck Nuketown. Number 5 goes right back to Ghosts. We're going to Chasm. Chasm looks pretty damn cool. I'll give it that. I think this was the first map I played when I pre-ordered and got on day 1 Ghosts. The first place I went was Chasm, and I thought, wow, that's a cool picture. Wow, what a cool format for a map. Never did I realize could somewhere have so much death from every location. The subway underground and some of the buildings on the outside edges, you can make it for a little bit. But if you go anywhere near that middle, there are always at least 2 people camping. There's always somebody staring into the middle of the rubble. They're just gonna shoot you. And all assault rifles are just so beautiful that you just die. You just die immediately. It might not just be all assault rifles, because I think your health is not as good as it is in that game, but all the same, you walk into that middle, you're dead. You try and flank that middle, you're dead. You try and go to the other side and maybe try and get any kind of vantage point on someone, you're dead. It doesn't work. You can't do anything. It's just a mess. So, you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned Modern Warfare 1 yet. Modern Warfare 1 had one map on this game. Don't get me wrong, Modern Warfare 1 is pretty wonderful to play if you can get it anywhere for probably like $5. It's definitely worth it to try and get in the 2 existing lobbies that exist now. Nonetheless, it still has one map, Wet Work. As many amazing things that I constantly hear about that intro mission in Modern Warfare 1, Wet Work is a disaster of a multiplayer map. There's nothing you can do at Wet Work. You would figure that because it's kind of a medium to large size map that you can go on one of the edges and snipe. You just can't get a vantage point on something. There are those parts in the middle where you can go to a second story, but nobody does that. You know why nobody does that? Because you can't make it that far. Wet Work is too thin. It was an experiment that went horribly wrong. If it was a big square of a ship, I mean, it'd be doable. I've heard wonderful things about Shipment. I'm pretty sure Shipment is as wide as Wet Work, but at least it's just that square. But these long corridors just create camping fights. That's all they create. Everybody just sits on an edge, and all people do is run outside edges. If you run in the middle, you're dead. You're dead immediately. There are so many ways that people can see you from the middle. So what do? You run the outside edges. You try to run the outside edges for as long as you can, and every time you get pretty far, and then what happens? Someone is directly adjacent to you. Because you can't run a flank route. The map is straight. There's nowhere to go. You can only go straight or backwards. And there's no point going backwards. You're not going to find anything. All the fighting happens in the center of the map. And that's it. And that's Wet Work. What rescues this map from being number 1? I mean, it's Modern Warfare at least. So your guns are fun. The fighting itself is alright. It's just the map makes it so limited. It's possible to have a good time, but most of the time, you're not going to make it past 2 kills in a row. Because people will see you and get you quick. So number 3 is going to be the last DLC map on this list. And what's funny about it to me is it's from Advanced Warfare. And at this moment, the second DLC hasn't even come out yet. And what cracks me up is I've gone into the Havoc only lobbies, and it seems to be the map that gets voted for the most. I'm talking about Sideshow. Sideshow has one of the coolest themes of a COD map. The whole clown thing, it's awesome. The creepy music that comes up, it's awesome. I'm not gonna deny that this map isn't aesthetically beautiful. It plays like a damn turd because the map is a big open space. There are 2 buildings, a bunch of cars, and open space. That's it. People can see you from anywhere. And what drives me the craziest about it is I never know where I'm going to die from when I'm at that map. Some of the spawns, you'll run 10 feet. Somebody will scoot exo jump their way into that corner you just spawned from, and they'll shoot you in the back. And there's nothing you can do about it. I'm talking about everywhere on the map. I guess the one spawn point not closest to that pool off the edge of the hotel, I guess that spawn is a little bit better than the other one, but the other one, they can see you from everywhere. The amount of open space in that map isn't even fun. I can't even say that pulling out a sniper rifle makes it better because, again, assault rifles are pretty damn effective if you even try and use them from a distance. You can jump around all you want. People will get you. These distances don't help. You turn a corner and you're dead because people are literally staring at a large empty space. They see any movement, they shoot. It's over. Nice try. Thanks for playing. That's how Sideshow plays to me, which is funny because never will there be a Havoc map that gets voted for more. I like Urban a lot, and I like Core too. Everybody loves Sideshow. I sure do not. For number 2, we're going back to Ghosts. And I, again, think this is a map that people like. but it's the experience that makes this map so bad in my eyes. My number 2 is Prison Break. Prison Break, again, not bad aesthetically. And what's funny about Prison Break is that's where I remember the use of the words dynamic maps. Again, I'm going off a tangent and saying how Ghosts is one of the worst things ever made, but that was false advertising. There's a pile of logs on one side of the map. If you throw a grenade at it, they fall into a river. Do you know what the odds are of killing somebody with a fucking stack of logs is? I'd like to see all the times that somebody gets dead because they're running in that river. No one goes in that river. Do you know where everybody does go? To that center area where you can see everyone with your assault rifle from any range at all. My Prison Break experience is anytime I die to an unknown source. There are these linear spaces of sight where people can just see you, and because your health is reduced, they have assault rifles. Just fire straight down the corridor. Good night. You're done for. Thanks for playing. There's nothing you can do about it. What's funny is that's not the only place in the map that does that. There's a side where you can knock a tree down and climb up. Oh yes, again, dynamic gaming. Where you can climb up, but there's this like logging company at the bottom. People can just see you. You don't see them, they see you. So what happens is you have to focus all your attention, and then the instant you get too far up the hill, people can see you from a sniping booth vantage point that's about 3 stories high. You can't deal with all this. There's a back area where you turn a corner and people will be looking right down the hill and see you, or they'll be at the bottom of another side of the hill and they'll see you. This map is just death. It's upsetting how much I used to see this map get voted for, because every time I would be forced to go to that map, I would just let out a sigh of disbelief and sadness. For my number 1, I apologize to be this predictable and this the same, but my number 1 goes to a map from Ghosts. The gameplay assists all maps in being a league more terrible than they are. Strike Zone would be a great small map if the game wasn't terrible. I could give you a ton of other examples from that game. Actually, I can't. Most of the maps in that game are pretty bad. My number 1 goes to Stormfront. Stormfront, to me, is the potential to be able to see anyone, but you don't. You think you're gonna see someone out in the open, completely unprepared for your presence, and it's gonna just be smooth sailing for a kill. You don't ever see anybody until they see you. Stormfront is misery. There's a big camping room with 3 stories. Go to snipe, you never see anybody. People will climb up your rectum and get you. That's the same thing. All the buildings are extremely close quarters. All of outside is extremely large. It's this big, enormous place. Half of my true hatred towards this map is just because it feels like the map should be more accessible than it is. But it's not. It just goes horribly every time I go to Stormfront. Nothing about it ends up being fun. Corridors of camping, open spaces. You run in the open spaces and people will see you. You look at the open spaces and you don't see anybody. That's at least my experience. All I got was just misery and pain from Stormfront, and that is why it's my number 1. But hey, thanks for watching, and cod on.